Hello and welcome to this brief demonstration video on how to calculate chi-square values in Excel. We're going to be using the data from your discussion for this week. And the first thing we're going to do is we want to calculate the totals for each of our categories and variables. So for example, here we have 15 through 29-year-olds and their observed values, 30 to 49-year-olds and their observed values, and 50 plus and their observed values. So the first thing we want to do is calculate those totals. Easy way to do this in Excel is to click on the cell where you want the total to be, type in equal, then type in SUM or sum, and you'll see that the sum function pops up here. We're going to click on that, double click, and then we're going to select the cells we want to add and hit enter. So you can see that it's now summing up B4 through B7. So here's B4, B5, B6, and B7. We've summed them up. The next thing I'm going to do, because I'm lazy and I just want to make my life easier, I'm just going to copy and paste this cell to here. Notice that Excel now has changed our sum from B4 through B7 to G4 through G7. So now it's summing up all these. We can go here, copy it in again, and again it's going to do L4 through L7. So one of the nice things about Excel is it will remember these things for you and kind of anticipate your needs here. And so we could always go double check and add these up, and indeed we would get 813. Add these up, we'd get 946. So we've done that for our column totals. Now let's do them for the row totals. Again, we're going to go here. This is where we want our total for that row to be. We're going to type in equal, SUM, double click on that function, and this time I'm going to control click on each cell I want to do. I can't click and drag across because that won't work, but I'm going to control click on each cell I want. So I'm going to control click here, control click here, control click here, and then I'm going to hit enter. So now we have a cell here that is adding up B4, G4, and L4. And what's nice about Excel is, again, it's going to anticipate my needs. I'm going to click and drag it down for all four categories of our dependent variable so that it adds them all up. So people who are very proud, quite proud, not very proud, and not proud at all. And again, you'll notice now it's summing up B7, G7, and L7. Finally, we want to know the total number of people in our sample here. And we could do that a couple ways. We could add up all these and put it in this cell, or we could just add up these here. And that's what I want to do. I'm going to type in sum. Whoops, I forgot my equal sign. Make sure you put in your equal sign. Equal sum. And I just want to add up all these values. And that's going to be our total n for the sample. So we've quickly calculated our marginal frequencies, our marginal totals for the columns and the rows, and we've calculated our total n for the sample as well. Our next step is to calculate our expected frequencies. If you can remember, our expected frequencies are going to be equal to the column marginal times the row marginal divided by our n. That's why we need to calculate all of our column and row marginal totals and our n. So our expected frequency here is going to be equal to our row marginal times our column marginal, our column marginal times our row marginal divided by our n. So let's get calculating. That's going to be equal to, and we're just going to type in a formula here. We're going to say it's going to be equal to 604, which is this cell, times this cell, in parentheses, divided by 2,363. So we're saying we're going to multiply 604, or B8, times our row total, Q4, divided by our n, which is Q8. So we hit enter, and it'll give us 1825036. Now if we click and drag this down, it's going to try to anticipate our needs, and let's see how well it does. Ooh, it didn't like that. It tried to go to B9. There's nothing there. So rather than maybe clicking and drag it, delete, we should just Control C. And again, it's confused, it's trying to anticipate, so let's fix it. We're going to go B8 again. We still want B8. It's correctly assuming we want this marginal total here, Q5, but it's again incorrect in trying to get our total. So Q5 is correct, but we want Q8 instead. We're going to keep doing that. We're going to Control C, Control V, correct the values we're using. Like that. We could also, since we're going to have pretty constant values for some of these, switch it up and make it easier on ourselves. So let's delete this and go back, and I'll show you a different way. We could do equals. We know for that everything in this column we're going to be using this 604. So rather than trying to have Excel anticipate our needs, let's just be straightforward. We're going to type in 604, and we're going to have it times this 714. This will change as we go down, so we can go ahead and select that. And then we're going to divide it by 2363, right? That's not going to change for each of these calculations, so 2363. Now let's hit enter. Get the same answer as before, but now when we click and drag it down, Excel is able to appropriately predict our needs. It's going to assume Q5, excellent, Q6, excellent, and Q7, excellent. So it's done some of that work for us now. Our next step is to subtract our observed minus our expected. And again, we can have Excel do a lot of this work for us. We're going to hit equals, and we're going to say our observed is 181. So we'll click on that cell, and then we'll minus our expected and hit enter, and it tells us the answer. And we can click and drag that down, and you'll notice that Excel accurately predicts what we want. B5 minus C5, B6 minus C6, B7 minus C7. The next step is we can then have Excel square things for us. Now there are a couple ways of doing that. I'm going to show you the way I prefer. I'm just going to type in equals D4 times, well, we want it to multiply it times D4. We want it to do it twice. We want to square it. And that'll give us 2.206. Now again, if we click and drag this down, it'll anticipate our needs. So we have D5 times D5, excellent, D6 times D6, excellent, and then D7 times D7. So now we have our observed minus our expected squared. We need to divide by our expected. So we know that Excel will do a lot of this for us. So once again, we're going to take our value here. We want equals. We know we want to take this observed minus expected squared, and we want to divide by our expected value, which again is 182. Then we can hit enter. And again, Excel will do a lot of this work for us. Ta-da. So the next step will be to add all these up to get our total for this. So let's do that. It's going to be our total here is going to be sum, and we want to add all these up, enter. Now the trick here will be that you'll need to do these steps for each age category and then add those up. And so our total chi-square is going to be equal to the sum of this value plus when we calculated this value plus when we calculated this value. So right now that's this, but once we calculate these, Excel will figure it out for us and include it here. So that's how you can use Excel to calculate your chi-square. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.